Rocking and rolling. Literally rocking and rolling.
What's going on?
Dude, it's been a while. We are live. We are live. So, I didn't want to talk about all of it when you came in. I want to thank you first. Guys, check this out. Latest record from Dopeghost, by the way. Fire in the Mind. Definitely check them out if you haven't already. You can find them any way and every way you possibly could imagine finding an artist these days. Spotify, iTunes, Instagram,
Google. If you're really struggling.
Yeah, if you're really struggling, you'll find them. And me and Dave used to work out together a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
I used to be his coach. And so this is what I wanted to talk to you about. First thing when I saw you, because I was like, it was buzzing through my mind. Because you were doing something really awesome when we last saw each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you were actually preparing to go sort of cross country, more north to south, van trip, touring, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. What was...
Yeah, at the time.
Here, make sure this is about like a fist away.
Yep.
Sorry.
Like 2017 or so, right? Or 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
So, yeah, at the time, we had done a couple singles, and we were hitting the shows and the road really, really hard. We were doing a lot of runs, like down the East Coast into Florida.
Yeah.
And back up through the Midwest. So, yeah, we built we had a lot of momentum.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Times.
What was it like getting a van ready for a cross-country trip,
We had a
man?
little Ford E150 Econoline.
That's a really popular thing to do now, is go cross-country with a van.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a good way to travel.
I mean, I know a lot of people are...
cheap way to see the country if you're balling on a budget, you know?
True. How many members of the band?
There was 4.
Yeah.
Now there's 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So is that a good thing, a bad thing? How's everything been going?
It's been great.
Yeah.
Well, the thing was, when we were working out together and hanging,
Yeah.
it was a 4-piece, and we were doing a ton of touring and just playing shows, doing weekend trips, the whole 9. And we were working on this record, but we weren't really getting very far with the writing process just because we were always playing shows, always having sets dialed in and tight. And as a unit, we just kind of decided we're going to take a break from doing shows for a little bit.
Yeah.
And get this
When did you
record.
decide that? Is this before all this has been going on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the record over there in
Yeah.
the corner. So
Yeah.
takes a while. But, yeah, during all that, we were writing. And he's still my good friend. I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad about him, but our singer just kind of wasn't contributing as much. He wasn't around, during the practices when we were getting the music done, and comes time to kind of figure out, hey, we're going to start scheduling studio time,
Right.
And one day he just comes downstairs and he's like, look, guys, I love you and all this and that, but I'm getting more into my videography thing, and I don't think I have the time or the resources to kind of do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a huge wrench in the gears. And again, he's still a good friend of mine. I don't want to,
no.
do your thing, I got all the love in the world for him and,
Absolutely.
all my friends. But
change can be positive.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a big wrench in the gears. We were like, all right. So we talked to our engineer that recorded our record, and he was like, look, life happens. The longer you guys wait to get this done, maybe it becomes more unlikely that it won't happen. So just come in. We'll do it for cheap. We'll crank it out. You guys are tight musicians. We'll crank out all the music, sans a vocalist. And we did it in 3 days.
And then you added the vocals in after?
Well after, yeah. Because now we have the music, a full record worth of high quality recordings of music, and we don't have a singer,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy. So you guys had to... No, I noticed on your Instagram it says you do vocals as well.
That's, where
So
I'm headed with...
Did you try... So were you the one who was doing the vocals for this particular record?
Yes.
No kidding.
But...
I can't tell you how stoked I am, actually, to listen to that.
I'm pumped for you to hear it. Fuck
yeah.
Can we cuss on this thing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody asks that. And my response is, fuck yeah, you can.
Okay,
Yeah, they're fine.
I just do kind of habitually.
YouTube won't like us too much, but you know what? YouTube doesn't like anybody.
Nah, fuck them.
Even though we love you, YouTube, I think, right?
So what we did was, we sent
us.
out a couple of instrumentals to people that we knew from just, being around, being in the scene. people that are, you know, good vocalists, but not necessarily in a group at the time. And, you know, some of them went great, and then some others didn't get back to us, and we kind of traced down the ones that were sounding better.
Vocalists, like when you guys were hunting for one?
Exactly. And just ended up getting ghosted a couple times, and a couple other people were a little interested, but I was just like, to myself and my band members, I was just like, we can't get into a situation again where we record a whole record that we're paying for, you know, totally independent, and then a year from now or 2 years from now have another, you know, a singer leave, and then have a whole record with this guy on it, and then continue as the same band and have to find another singer. So
that's the tough part, is getting somebody. Like, I could only imagine how difficult it is to get somebody in on something like a band, and then they still have to, because you're in a phase where not everybody's making money just from the band, right?
No.
So it's like you gotta have people who are 100% committed, who also have a job and a life, you know. So I could understand the vetting process between finding somebody who's, you know, who you can count on being there for practice, being there for the show, long term, and long term. Otherwise, you know, you put all your eggs into that basket, and then you're left up shit creek again without a paddle.
Exactly. So
Who do you guys use for like a studio? Because like that's something I always wondered, for like somebody like yourself and many other bands starting out. And you guys have been, how long have you guys been a band?
2015 we got rolling.
Yeah.
So 5 years or so now.
You guys got some time in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But what is that like studio wise? Do you guys just use other studios, or have you built your own? Or
we have our own that we do for like pre-pro and just figuring out ideas and working on songs at practice in a live setting, and then bringing them and writing them down, air quotes, on paper, you know. So that's really helpful. But our big homie Shane Frisbee at the Brick Hit House, shout out to him. He has a studio, a beautiful home studio in Sandwich, Mass, Cape Cod.
Sandwich.
Yeah.
I had a friend who lived out there. No kidding.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of go out there, and who does your videos? Awesome music videos, because I've watched a few of them when we were working out together. Like I was pretty obsessed with it. I think I told you this before. At least the way it came out to me, it was a very like, the genre was very similar to that of Incubus. You know what I mean? You guys really captured.
One of my all-time favorite bands.
Oh, I know,
absolutely.
like an amazing vibe, an amazing sound too. So where kind of how'd you guys establish that? How'd you guys all meet in the first place?
Oh, geez. In the first place, I was in a band with my bass player now, Matt, from 2009 to 2013.
Yeah.
And when that fell apart, it kind of crushed me. I was living in Boston at the time. I was really depressed, and I was just like, kind of like, you know, that was my dream, and it still is. But at the time, I was just like, I can either just quit, or I can get up off my rear end and write some songs, you know. And I did, and I put 2 songs together. I kind of wanted more like a, not so heavy, still heavy, but more like you said, like an Incubus sort of vibe, with the twangy bends and the warm guitar
something
sounds
smooth,
at times.
But like
exactly.
It can get a little hardcore.
It can get, for sure. But and my friend Kyle Lusty, who's just kind of like a social butterfly of the scene, you know, he kind of just hit me up one day, and he was like, hey, you know, I have all these great members, this great drummer that I know, this great singer, being the, you know, my buddy that left and went on to do his videography stuff, and we just all got going in my buddy Burke's basement for like a year. And when
humble beginnings,
we just hit it hard. Yeah, we hit shows doing hard, and we used to have like really crazy live shows just to get attention. Yeah, like sort of like a Wild 'N Out child. And, you know, like
that's smart though. Get
but
people
we used to just
up.
Fucking wreck shit, you know, like
give something.
Just throw drum sets around and move the drum kit at the end of the set off the stage into the center of the floor, and take off out onto the floor. And like a lot of clubs hated us. We actually got banned from the Waterfront, somewhere I grew up, from just wilding out like that. But as we went, we sort of matured and kind of,
Yeah.
that dialed back and the music became more of
Yeah.
the focal point. But yeah, back to the vocalist thing.
Yeah. So what did you guys?
After we got blown off a couple times and I was unsure about,
Whether or
getting
not.
worked over again by
Yeah.
a singer. Singers are notoriously can be
Yeah.
douchebags, but
Well, it's kind of one of those roles where a lot of people will give that person the credit for the whole bit.
oh my
There's
God,
a lot
yeah,
of ego in that
exactly.
role.
Jim Morrison and the Doors.
Yeah,
exactly.
you could easily, become extremely top heavy, just
Yep.
from being the singer of a band and not
Definitely.
and because well, one, like you said, the crowd might give you the credit, and two, you're the one seeming like you lead it, because never does the lead vocalist sit in the back. You know what I mean?
Not usually.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Tool's done it, I think, a couple
Yep.
times. Yeah.
But yeah, they're antisocial. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just did a couple demos over the songs we had. I showed the guys, and we were like, perfect, let's roll with this. So I was like, already, it had been a while for me since I had done like vocals full time in a band, like high school days sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So we recorded all the music in November 2018, and I went back and did the vocals in April, when I spent that entire time pretty much 6 days a week working on my voice and getting it to a point. Also writing, the songs and the lyrics.
Had you ever done vocals prior?
Yeah, in high school I was in a
yeah.
band where I was the lead singer and guitar player.
Gotcha.
And I dabbled. I've done little parts here and there, but never took it too serious.
Yeah.
Just
So I'm
'cause
curious, what does working on your vocals entail? Do you run through scales and try to hit different
scales and
notes?
exercises. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of mechanics to it. Like,
You ever work with a voice coach?
That's basically an internet one I did.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was at. But yeah, there's a ton of just different things you got to keep in mind,
Yeah.
breathing and the shape of your throat, and not closing down with hard consonants, and keeping like vowels going, and practicing literally scales,
Yeah, there's definitely
Because-
more skill to it than people might think. A lot
Oh
more
my
factors.
God,
Like,
yeah.
it's not just belting
anybody,
it.
and literally, not everyone's gonna be friggin' Beyonce, but
Right.
anyone can learn to sing at
Yeah.
their ceiling,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is pretty cool, You look at guys like Bob Dylan, and you're like,
Yeah.
listen to him, you're like,
He would've
this
never
is
made it.
awesome, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he can't really sing, but
Good
he
lyrics.
just changed the world,
Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's a good point. I have a good friend who's also a voice coach over at University, Hartford University. He's an opera singer, so he's in
the
the
real
brief
deal.
in the brief encounters I've had with him at the gym, because he'd actually work out at the same gym as me for a while. Shout out to Dan, he knows who he is, and I'd love to have him on the show at some point. But he was telling me like, how to keep the jaw loose and stuff like that. He would talk about it all the time. He was a big fan of just because he wasn't a voice coach before.
Yeah.
He was just an opera singer.
Yeah, they call it relaxation response, so you don't tighten up. And
He could do shit with
squeak.
his jaw that I couldn't. Like, he
I
can
can
take his
imagine.
jaw and just like shake it.
The opera training is
can't.
very serious. I can only imagine.
Right. Well, you have to act and sing at the same time.
Right.
And there's like I don't know. I've been to an opera like once, and the stage is, you got to navigate the stage and the props and the people and the
Yeah.
actors, and that's a whole nother kind of performance. So what are you doing now, man? I mean, this is a big challenge today's day and age right now for artists of all kinds, comedians, artists, anybody in the entertainment industry, really.
Yeah, well, the plan was to tour extensively, obviously, but before we released the record, me and my drummer mainly had come up with this idea to just put a ton of time and resources into learning marketing.
Yeah,
Because
that's
forever, a lot of us came from an era where you start a band, you get tight, you create a little local following, you start touring, branching out little by little, building a following, and that's kind of how people did it forever, So we had that mind frame going in, but now the way with the internet works
It's
and
too
everything.
big of a resource to ignore.
Exactly. So we really put our heads down and figured out some music marketing and running like Facebook ads and looking into Spotify playlists and
Right.
all the different little bells and whistles. And we really did. We made a splash on the internet as far as we're concerned. You know, it's dropping the bucket to some, but it was really, I was impressed with what we had accomplished. And still, there's things running out there now
Right.
that are, you know, ads with, you know, 500,000 views and, you know, thousands of comments and like, you know, that was really cool. To dial that down.
Were you
But
guys not on Spotify or Apple iTunes for a while, or?
we were.
Yeah,
we
okay.
were. But I mean, like the actual marketing of it, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it was a whole revamp. This whole record process. You know, our little branding. We have that little smoke symbol.
Yep.
And we're just trying to take that more serious. But yeah, we're completely independent. We paid for
Marketing
everything.
can be fun.
It can be.
It can be really fun. I've been very interested in it as well, and understanding how to use YouTube and hashtags and Facebook as a great. I mean, Facebook is actually supposedly one of the best ways to advertise right now because it's so cheap to reach so many people. You
It
know what I
is,
mean?
and it's
$100 goes a long way.
Exactly. If you run a commercial in a bar for an old folks home,
Yeah.
all that ad spend just got wasted on all those people. Whereas if you can target exactly what you're looking to target via Facebook, and as time goes on, if you do it properly, it gets smarter and smarter and cheaper for you.
And then there's the off chance somebody shares it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's one share can be an infinite amount of shares essentially. I mean, one
Exactly.
person shares it, they have 1,000 friends, one of their 1,000 friends shares it.
Yep.
And then you know, then there's that collective issue, you know, the collectiveness of how many people saw it along that share, you know, along how it's going viral. You never know how things even disperse. It's all dependent on interest. And that's the best part about it. Like you were saying, you can put in who you want to target.
Exactly.
You don't have to target people who might be above 70 years old. They might not be into rock. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You literally can dial it in
Yeah.
that far in. It's pretty insane.
It's cool, man. So is that what you guys have just been working on in the meantime? Were you guys set up to do anything for this year and then kind of just got the kibosh?
Oh my God, dude. Ugh.
I'm sure there. I mean,
Yeah,
just like everybody,
I mean,
we had to make some
like
changes.
I said, we finished recording in April, not this past one, but the one before.
Oh, wow.
that. So
Have
the
you guys been
vocals were
practicing,
done.
or?
Yeah, it took a while. It takes a while for things to get mixed and mastered and artwork to be finished.
Yeah.
And talking to vinyl companies and getting stuff printed. Like I said, we're totally independent. All this stuff is out of pocket. You know.
I
we're
gotta
talking-
say, it is so cool that they still make vinyls.
Oh yeah, it's like kind of
It's-
a niche thing.
It
you
is
know?
a niche thing. It's got to be because I mean the cassette. You wouldn't make a cassette.
Yeah, we did.
You did?
No
way.
CDs though. CDs are out.
No
Vinyls
way.
and tapes are in.
No way.
Yeah.
I would never
Well,
have
I
thought
mean,
that.
and download cards and shit like that.
Right,
you know?
right.
But everyone just goes to Spotify, myself included, you know, or iTunes or something to listen to what they want to listen to.
Who designed this?
Every once in a while. Like I said before, my buddy that got us all together in
Yeah.
the first place in 2015, my buddy Kyle Lusty
Oh,
helped me.
yes,
helped
yeah.
me, you know.
Dude,
he's
this
a graphic
is,
designer.
This is a really cool artwork on this.
Thank
That
you,
is
man.
so cool, man.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of scattered lyrics.
That's too funny. I could have totally thought. I would have totally thought they wouldn't make tapes anymore. So what's do people still buy? Is that sort of a niche thing as well? Cassettes?
Yep.
Okay. Because I know, like, you go to, like, I don't know. There's a ton of stores in Northampton where you can go in and buy, you know, there's more tapes than anything. Not tapes,
Yep.
sorry. Records than anything else. Like,
Absolutely. Turn it up and
right. What
Newberry
the heck's the name?
Comics.
Newberry
and
Comics.
that
That's
one's
exactly
sick.
the
I
place
love
I
that
was thinking.
store.
They have a lot of cool stuff. Do you guys so do you distribute to any stores in the local area?
Well, the thing was, we only did like 300 of those or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were looking like we got all our ducks in a row. Our record's done, the artwork's done, tapes are getting worked on, vinyl's getting worked on, which turnaround time on that is
Yeah.
crazy. It takes a long time. We're working on getting videos finalized, and we're music marketing, running ads, and, you know, getting the ball rolling on the social media thing. Meanwhile, we're looking for a van, bought a beautiful...
What happened to your last van?
It was just a piece of
piece of
junk. I
shit,
sold it
yeah.
for like $600. But
Did it make it down to Georgia?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to. Yeah, we did have to do the alternator.
Yeah.
Shouts out to my drummer Alex. He's a whiz at that stuff.
Yeah.
He changed the alternator in a AutoZone parking lot
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of right outside of Atlanta. That was
Now you
sick.
said it was a Ford E150.
Huh?
It was a Ford E150. Is it what you said?
Yeah,
it was?
yeah, the
So
Econoline.
and so you had 4 guys sleeping in the back of that thing.
Oh, dude, it was pure misery.
Bro,
Pure
I
misery.
use those for my work trucks.
No
you know?
trailer, yeah.
And you know, the tools that I need for my job, you know, they fit for the most part. But like sleeping in that 4 guys, man.
Yeah, it was. So
Dude,
now
that's hustle.
Yeah,
that's what
it
you call
was,
hustle.
and it
dude.
was. You know, like we would pitch tents, pull over, find a
Yeah.
Walmart, find a camping spot you can pull off on. You know, if you got a day off or something, rent a campground for $30 for the day. And
How'd the shows go? You guys kick ass?
yeah, that when the shows were all good. You know, some are better than others.
Right, right.
Obviously, you know, Monday and Tuesday nights aren't the fucking most popping, but
Yeah.
yeah, like that one. I just said we had to change the alternator. And we
Yeah.
made it to the show late, but we made it. We showed up. We played. We sold out of our merch. I had to hit.
What?
Yeah, I had to hit our distributor up and have them send shit to the next
To
city.
the next. No
you know?
kidding. That's cool. Who do you guys? That's one thing. I mean, I don't want to go too far into detail, but is it really easy? Like you guys, T-shirts, I'm assuming, and stuff like that. Is
Yep.
it easy to get stuff like that? I've never. I'd like to down the road
it's
have them
fairly
for the
reasonable
podcast.
now, especially now. There's so many. Just we've networked. I've been in this scene since
Yeah.
I was a kid, playing shows and networking. There's a lot of people I know from way back,
Mhm.
that have T-shirt businesses and, graphic design platforms and,
Right.
cool stuff like that. So there's a lot of resources. I'm thankful for that,
Yeah, stuff you accumulate along the way. That's
Mhm.
huge, man. Because that's really fundamentally kind of what keeps building the experience and everything, and getting you more and more accustomed to having to grow as like you were saying, marketing from a marketing standpoint, from a branding standpoint, so people can
Mhm.
recognize you.
Exactly.
What's your next move from here? I mean,
Well, that was the
now.
thing. Our record came out in March, finally, after all this time. We were running ads, released a few songs, bought a van, wicked upgrade, Chevy 3500 Express, the 6-liter, the one you want,
Yeah.
massive, fit all the gear, and now there's only 3 of us, so we're snoozing like kings in the thing.
yeah,
And, we were about to go. It was probably, we were probably 3-4 days from doing our first little, long weekend run to get the ball rolling. And the kibosh came down, the
Yeah.
virus shut everything down. It was a huge heart stomper as far as that, So,
yeah. Well, that's just it. I've talked with a few people about it, and it's like, now it's like, when's the next show? How do you know?
We
Most
don't
of
know.
these places have to convert themselves into a quote unquote restaurant before they can open, and then they can only have 25% capacity or
Exactly.
something like that. So right, what I forget
Yeah,
what it was. It's
exactly.
25%. Your computer's
Something
not on,
like
but
that.
it's it's definitely going to be a challenge, though. I mean,
it's like 8 people per 1,000 square feet.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure it was a percentage for venues or something, because it's different, but.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming now, what is it? You guys just work, practicing a lot, or?
We're staying tight, and we actually started writing again because what
Yeah.
else are we gonna do?
Yeah. Give you some time to
We've been
really.
working on a couple songs in our little home studio, and we're working on our ads are running. They've been running for a long time. We have a lot of good data. We're gonna try to move some of the merchandise online, but that's the thing with a band like this. If someone goes to a show and they're like, wow, that was a cool set, I want to grab a T-shirt or I want to grab a record so I remember
the experience.
the experience. So it's more like that
Well, yeah.
rather than,
That's typically how it goes.
oh,
with
that's a cool
bands.
shirt
I mean,
I saw on the internet, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know anything about this band yet.
In
so.
other words, you guys aren't in it for fashion as much as you are for the experience,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
it's funny you say that. I never even made that connection until you just said that. Because honestly, I'm in the same boat, man. When I go to a concert, I typically like to have something to remember that
Mhm.
time, because
Exactly.
concerts blow your mind.
Yep.
That's one thing, man, I was really blown away about, because I was watching. I forget what I was watching, but it was just a concert, and it was on a documentary, and I was like, holy shit! Look at all those people together.
Yeah.
like, you think now who's gonna want to do that with all the fear backing the basic decision most people
no
make
one
to go
wants
out.
to be the lab rat of sorts,
So now there's all that pent up fear and apprehension of going back into the way things used to be, and it's like what I keep wondering is how long is that going to last? What point do people, go, you know what, I'll take my chances and just go to the concert, go to the show.
Right.
Personally, I'd probably still go, but I remember being like at the House of Blues in Boston, trying to get to the front, and there's just people, you're just showered in people. They're everywhere. They're just like you're just in it, and they're all bumping into you and brushing up against you, and it's like sardines in a can.
Yeah.
And you'd go home and you'd be fine. Even with all the diseases prior to the pandemic,
exactly.
So I hope.
And that's the thing too. Not to get too political or whatever, but unfortunately now it's been politicized. If you're one way on the subject, you're a conservative. If you're another way on the subject, you're a liberal. It's just ridiculous.
Dude, you haven't you couldn't put it any better. That's exactly how I honestly I think I talked about this a couple episodes ago. The exact same thing. I think that's the biggest problem and why it's been so hard for people to cooperate on this.
Yep.
Because now
identity politics.
Politics, and everybody's now just butting heads about things.
Extreme ideologies. If I let up on my stance on this, it's so ridiculous, dude.
So it makes it tough, and I do hope things can go back to the way they were, because I think more so. Deeply. So at first the pandemic, posed a really huge economic issue, right? And that's sort of a bump we've all gotten over, but it's still sort of residual because of the apprehension people have leaving their houses.
Right.
So now what we're looking at is like a social issue. You have massive social distress because of the political thing you were just talking about. People not wanting to, people's pride is at stake. Political opinions are at stake. And all this, and it's also election year, so add that to the whole equation. But now, to add another thing to that whole equation is people don't have the social, cultural the social culture that they used to have. There's no concerts, there's no events. People could let loose, let off steam, have fun, and now we're sort of reduced to watching things from a distance and
streaming it in, or it's such a trip. Like even like the things that we just accept now that would be so weird if it just came out of the blue. Like I've been loving the basketball bubble, the NBA, just because it's like some sort of normalcy. But at the same time, they're playing to no fans and people are Skyping in the background. You know, that's a trip. That's like. A few years ago, you'd be like, "This is a science fiction movie." You know?
Oh my God. Yeah. You'd think Black Mirror made an episode about this shit.
Legitimately.
Oh, dude, there's been memes circulating about Black Mirror deciding to let us experience the next season instead of making it.
What's that? Oh, they're
we're experiencing the next season.
Yeah,
this is
probably
season, whatever
season 9 or whatever. Yeah. No, I wouldn't doubt it. So that's one thing I was really just blown away by. I was really putting a lot of thought into it earlier today, even because what kind of toll is that going to take on people long term? Not being able. I mean, it's a human thing. It is a fun. It's like a deep rooted. What's the word I'm looking for? Primordial thing. Humans have always congregated and done things, whether it be ritual or for celebration.
Yeah, music is a universal language. You know, it brings people together. I really, really believe that it's just like...
Well, it's medicine of its own, man.
Exactly. You know?
And a lot of people are going without it and probably will for longer than they even should.
Yep. Not even... keeping my shows and my touring out of the subject. I had so many, like I was nose down, working my ass off to get this dialed in, and I was like, I'm not doing any extra shit, like I'm saving all my money. It's all going into this, and the time comes,
You're
I was
all
like,
in, dude.
We were all in, we were ready to go. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do some fun shit this summer. I'm going to buy Rage Against the Machine tickets. So heartbroken that didn't go down, dude. I've been waiting all my life to see that.
Dude.
one of my favorite bands, Envy on the Coast, missed out on that. My girlfriend bought.
I'd love to see Rage Against the Machine.
Deftones tickets for my birthday way back when. I think that was going to happen in August.
This year?
Yeah, so that's gone, like all this stuff,
It is, and it's funny hearing you say it because it's honestly a big part of some people's lives. Like for me, I'm not a very avid concert goer.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen I've seen plenty of concerts.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people who are like that. They plan out their year around these amazing
big
performances.
festivals and how,
what's gonna happen
partying all summer.
What's gonna happen to Burning Man? They gonna even have Burning Man this year?
Very
Probably not.
Doubtful.
Yeah.
They'll probably
There's
have
no
it in
freaking way.
secret.
Yeah, I honestly, who's gonna rat them out?
Yeah.
Freaking, what's it called? What the hell's the name of the city? Tent City? No, what the hell's it called?
I'm not
Tent
sure.
City.
They call it
I've been
something.
to a
Have you
few of those.
are you familiar? Yeah, have you familiar with Burning Man?
I am very familiar. I haven't been, but I'm very familiar with.
Are you talking about the name of
festival
the actual
circuit.
town that they create
Yeah.
with their tents?
Yeah, is
Okay.
it called Tent City or
Tent
something?
City.
It
That's like
probably
a
is, but I'll
common
look it up.
term for.
I mean,
Dippity-dippities.
I'm completely fascinated every time I hear Duncan Trussell talk about it. Are you familiar with Duncan Trussell?
yeah, he's a nut, dude. He's really insightful.
Yeah,
that guy's
so insightful,
yeah.
and he really sells it. I would love
Black
to go.
Rock City.
Black
Yeah,
Rock City.
Black
That's
Rock
it.
City,
That's
gotcha.
it.
Yeah, I heard a while ago that the past couple years haven't been as Burning Man as
Burning Man
as
should
Burning
be.
Man as it usually
Burning
is.
Man-esque.
Because a lot of these Facebook gurus and just Silicon Valley people come in and they kind of like tape off their own area, and it's like an exclusive sort of big party, but everyone's networking, trading businesses and talking tech, and it's just like, this is the
Yeah,
exact
that's
literally opposite of what people come here to do. People come here to express themselves artistically, and you're not supposed to bring
What?
money if you want to do drugs and shit. You got to bring shit to trade, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so
That sucks.
I heard that. I read an article on that a couple years ago, and I was like,
You know what's
oh,
weird about that too?
course.
Because that's something that happens anyways, but they had to make it something that was monetized. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? That's
Yeah.
so lame. That's
Yeah,
so
I
lame because
agree.
that's something that would be happening by nature. Because in an event like that, just like any other performance or event, networking is paramount. That's what
Well, yeah.
happens. You
Yep.
meet new people, and especially something like Black Rock City. I mean, like you said, you've been to plenty of like I've been to Wormtown before. You know,
Oh,
the
hell yeah.
experiences like
Strange
that. You know what I
Creek
mean?
and shit.
Strange Creek.
Grew
Yeah.
up there.
No shit, really.
Yeah.
Have you ever performed there? Or
No, that's more of a jam band sort
Yeah.
of a scene. But I would go, every summer when I was a kid
Yeah.
for a long time. I went last year actually for the first time in years, and it was a trip.
that's definitely a place where
No
I've
pun intended.
yeah, yeah. No. It's definitely one of those experiences where I feel like that might be not at like the same, but similar to something like Black Rock City there and Burning Man, because there are people doing a lot of different drugs and stuff like
Right.
that, and you're in that loose environment with people who are
Yup.
mingling and meeting
Mhm.
each other and just having a good time. Because I mean, there was like 4 concerts going on when I was in Strange Creek at the same
Oh
time.
yeah,
you
they
know
have
what I
all
mean?
the little
You're going,
2 main stages,
Drum circle,
all the little all the little
rave.
side stages and
Yeah.
shit. Yep, the
It's-
cabins at the late
It's
night.
cool. I saw Max Creek. That's who was playing.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
you've seen them. They're actually freaking good.
Yeah.
When I don't even, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they're dead. They're old.
No, they're still around.
No way.
They are old though.
Have you seen them lately?
Not lately, no.
No.
Years ago though,
What-
many times.
What's that's what I was thinking when we were talking about Strange Creek though. What's the biggest venue you guys have ever played? Have you guys ever played around here, like
Yeah, we
Pearl Street?
I want to say one of the Christmas shows, not too long ago. We played the 4 Year Strong Christmas show at the Worcester Palladium.
Mm-hmm.
We opened for them, and that was a sold out. I think that was like 2,500 people or something that were there. That was pretty. Cool. That
What?
was crazy. Yeah,
That's
that was
a
a
big
good
ass
one.
show.
Yeah, we played Warped Tour.
What?
We didn't go on the whole thing, but
Yeah.
we played the Boston date once. That was a good.
That must have
crowd.
been fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It just sucks waiting
Yeah.
around all day.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
I wanna.
Because there's so many different bands. I'm
Yeah,
assuming you guys
exactly.
were pretty much just hanging out the whole
But
day.
yeah, you just kind of get like a little tossed.
Yeah.
I'd rather play at a good.
Well,
good
that's
clip,
it's good to get yourself out there, but I'm sure the integrity of the experience is a little compromised when you're up there. I mean, how many people play during Warped Tour? I've never been, but it's like
So many
I've
bands
seen the
every
list.
day.
It's like what, 30, 45 bands or something like that.
Yeah.
and then
if
you're
that.
just in the mix, and
Mhm.
there really is no,
No,
main
it was
event,
fun.
right?
I'm just saying it's a ton of, to
Yeah.
go there and stay there all day and run a merch table and bop around, and
Yeah.
then you play late, and it's just like, it's not like you're kicking it in the green room or nothing
Right,
like that,
right. It is
We're
kind of
out
it is
there
kind
with
of
the-
more like when you come to the venue in a smaller
Mhm.
event where you're just getting ready the whole time to go, and it's
Mhm.
like, all right, you're there, now you're hanging, and then you're out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I
But
could
it was
imagine
fun
that's.
to bop around
Did you
and
meet
check out
Did
bands
you meet
and
any
stuff.
really cool, more famous people like in the scene? Who's the most famous musician you've ever met so far? I mean, I'm assuming if you've gone to Warped Tour and stuff like that, you might have come across some cool guys.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, funny enough, years ago, just through mutual friends, I ended up meeting my buddy Fran,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in a big band in the 2000s, like from 2000 to like '07 or
Yeah.
'08 or something like that, From Autumn to Ashes.
Yeah.
Big inspiration to me just as a human being, and like his music is fantastic. But we were just we've been friends for a while, just via other people. He lives in Detroit, and I go out and visit
What's
him
the name
every
of his
once in-
band?
From Autumn to Ashes.
Oh, okay.
Definitely, they did their thing
Yeah.
back in the day. And when we were when I was like, oh, I'm going to do the vocals, and I was working on it and stuff, and I just like floated the idea, it'd be really cool if you came out and just did a feature on one of the songs,
Right.
and, he was like, oh, hell yeah, let's get it going, and I flew him out to the Cape from Detroit, and
Nice.
he killed it, and we hung out for a few days, and he fucked back off to Detroit,
Yeah.
it was sweet. It was really cool for him to
Come
do
all the way
that,
out there.
And funny enough, he hit me up months and months later, because the band had broken up. They had done a couple of reunion shows, I think, in 2015, and then he texted me one day out of the blue. He was like, hey, you might have really sparked something by having me come out and yell on your record. I found myself in Brooklyn working on new Beta songs. I hope I'm not saying too much. They're trying to keep it secret. But
Right,
no,
right.
I think they came out with it online and said, hey, we're going to do some shows.
Mm.
But again, the virus put the kibosh on the whole thing. I had tickets to go see that
Shit,
band
man.
in Brooklyn, and it never happened, And
That
they were
sucks.
going to start writing. They announced they were on a bunch of festivals and stuff
Mhm.
again too. So as far as most famous, I don't know, he's not famous, but like he did his thing.
He's
and he's known
probably very
in that,
talented. Yeah.
like a lot of my favorite bands, including From Autumn to Ashes, their last record was on my most played Spotify, I think, last year.
shit.
But all those bands that I love from that metalcore era,
Yeah.
sort of emo, some bands more, but he played with everyone. Every Time I Die, My Chemical Romance, From First to Last, who is Skrillex now, that's
No
you
kidding.
know what I mean? Like, he knows and has bumped elbows with basically so many of my people that I look up to, that when I was in high school and a kid, I was like, these bands are the shit.
Right.
But in reality, they're just out there putting in the work, like we're putting in
Yeah,
the work, like
exactly.
grinding it out in a van with 4 sweaty dudes that you're at odds ends with, and
Dude, that's
you could
the
kill them, but
experience.
then you get to the venue, you're exhausted, you rip the gig rules, and it's all worth it,
I can't
And you
imagine
hop
how that
back in
feels.
the, hop back in the van and hightail it to the next.
Do you,
Stop.
How often have you guys played around here? I mean, not because I just asked
Well, like
because I've frequented a lot of events back when concerts were going on, and I don't know if I've ever run into you guys. I've run into a lot of different people just by
Right.
chance. I
Well, like I said, when we were pumping iron together at the gym,
Yeah.
we were playing in that time frame, that 2018, early 2018, whatever it was. We were cranking out shows.
Yeah.
We were going hard. We were going on tour every couple months. We'd put in a week or two on the road, And, getting all the shows ourselves, like fully independent. But when it was time to start writing the record, we staved off shows.
yeah.
And then we were recording the record, so we weren't, playing any shows. And I was figuring out how to be the guitar player and the singer at the same time, because it's one thing to write vocals for a record and melodies and this and that,
Yeah.
and go in and record it as a vocalist. But then I had to leave, hit practice super hard, and figure out how to play all the songs and sing them well at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so we haven't played a show really in years at this point because we
Jesus.
were working so hard on that, and we
So
were
the last-
about to kick the door down. You know, we
Yeah.
were about to kick the door down with this new record, new 3-piece vibe, new marketing strategy, new van, new everything. We had a booking agent that's you know, he was like, give me $10 a show and I'll book you anywhere you want to go. And we could have toured our sacks off, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's just like this thing, hurry up and wait, really. It sucks, but it is what it is, you know? So, like I said, we're just kind of working on new music now and
the last place you guys
navigating this like everyone else is, and you know, everyone's got problems, you know, with this. So I don't like to seem like I'm bitching about it, but it's pretty fucked.
Yeah, dude,
That's an understatement.
yeah, that is an understatement.
There's
You kidding me?
No shame in bitching about
Yeah,
this.
there's no shame in, because honestly, everybody is at this point, because like we said before, the more things develop, the more we realize, you know, it's not as dangerous as we all thought, but we still have to deal with the fear people have accumulated since we found out about it. That's the biggest shame in my opinion, because people can leave now. People can do stuff now. It's known, you know, and we have research and resources to deal with it a little bit better. And I just wish there was a little bit more creativity put into the way we handled it, you know, like or the way we could handle it as of right now. I mean, there's still things that are just like, I wanted to go to the movies the other day. I think there might be opening up. Have you heard anything about movies opening
there's
up?
drive-ins at the moment.
Yeah, like
I know the theater in Eastfield Mall just closed permanently.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, they were making all their money off
They have
popcorn.
like a $25,000 per month rent.
Oh yeah, it's
You know,
it's
and
crazy.
they were like, yeah, with this like being up in the air, we're not paying this.
There's no way.
And you know, I mean, even then, if movie theaters open, like, you're gonna have one person every like 5 seats.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty
you know,
much
like
it.
$50 a movie.
25%
Yeah.
capacity,
Yeah.
and that's not enough to pay the rent.
But I mean, I know drive-ins are open, so.
Yeah, drive-ins are open. I have heard that, and typically you watch like 2 movies. I don't know. The point is that it's everybody's extremely limited right now. Like, you can go out to eat, but that is even slightly limited because
Right,
you know,
I've only
seating.
sat outside.
Yeah,
I haven't sat inside at a restaurant.
Well, there's places that you can sit inside. You
Yeah.
just have
I
to wear
heard
your
you
mask while
have,
you
but
walk to
I
the
just
table.
personally haven't.
yeah,
you
and
know?
it all comes down to the business. There are businesses that still only do takeout. To
Mhm.
this day, I was in Amherst the other day. Actually, you can't even eat
Yeah.
inside. You can walk in and grab your food, but you can't sit in there.
Right.
You
And
know?
it's just, like you said, it's going to be, you know, people are going to
So at this
weigh
point,
their own risk, like,
Yeah.
personally, you know? Like, because now, like, even recently, you heard The Rock and his family got the damn thing. And it's like,
No
if
way.
The
Yeah, I
Rock
just
can get
read
it,
that.
dude, I'm, you know.
whoa, that I didn't hear about. That's crazy.
I read that
He
this
addressed it
morning.
on Instagram last night or the night before. He had like a long 15-minute thing, and he was just
Shit.
like, "Look, we got it from a family friend, you know, like
Oh,
someone we trusted, and you know they're sick about it, but we're all good. You know, obviously
Mhm.
The Rock's not gonna get
yeah.
fucked over by COVID.
Imagine he dies from the coronavirus. That'd be a whole nother.
That would be on high
That would
alert,
cause
you know,
the
that
next
thing-
It would
the thing
definitely
shut
more-
down.
lock down.
Yeah,
It'd be
another
over.
lockdown. A whole nother lockdown.
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson dies.
No, not a him.
Yeah, no, he'll probably be fine. That's the thing, you know, because I mean, what did you hear? So you read it. You said, what did it say?
Yeah, I just read it and it said that The Rock got it, and I thought to myself like, oh, of course this is big news. It's The Rock.
Right.
Yeah,
Did
you
you?
know.
But like, so getting it. So we all know you can get it and nothing happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case for him?
Like,
Like Michael Yo,
I didn't read
comedian, he
into
got
the
it. He almost
story.
died.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look it up.
Though it's just so that my point to that is that, you know, when you say, oh, somebody got it, the first thing you think is, oh, fuck, that
Mhm.
person's sick.
Right.
But that's
not
not always the
necessarily
case.
sick.
That's not always the case.
But
Sometimes
he
nothing
said his
happens.
whole family got it, and he has young kids and stuff
Oh,
like that.
shit.
So, yeah.
Well,
I don't
hopefully
know.
everything goes well.
He said that I watched it last night. He said that he weathered the storm, so I think they did
Oh, okay.
feel something. You know, I don't know how horrible it was, or if it
Mhm.
was just like the flu or whatever. But
Oh, there you go.
it's unprecedented time we're living in.
Yeah. And then that's just it. We're
It's
waiting for some type of
craziness on-
solution.
you know, and like I said, I hate to bitch about this situation. Like
Mhm.
one thing that gave me, huge perspective in all this was my best friend and his wife had a child, like, during this. Like, they were pregnant before all this, like around Christmas last year. They announced to everyone, and they had the kid in the middle of all this, and and they're taking the quarantining very, very serious, to the point where I can tell it's like kind of weighing on their mental health.
Yeah.
Like, and if this is extensive, then you got to take care of that stuff too. But I don't blame them. I probably would do the same thing if I had an infant that was
kids a whole
fully
nother thing.
dependent on me. I went to see the baby and them, and I kicked it on the porch with a mask on in between a glass door. That's how serious this whole thing is.
Right.
Yeah, so I
That's
guess
crazy.
The Rock tested positive for like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And him and his whole family like basically went through it. And apparently his wife had it bad, but everybody's recovered and fine now.
That's good.
And
That's good.
She had a bunch of symptoms and stuff though.
Yeah, I guess she had it pretty bad. But he's just talking about how important it is to wear your mask and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good point too. And kind of where I was going with it when we were talking about how, this affects people's ability to socialize and enjoy each other's company and enjoy the company of others and groups and stuff like that, because it's a big part of life as a human. And, at some point, I like the way you put it, because it's true. You can suffer from some type of, you can suffer from a little bit of mental distress from this.
Yeah,
and that how long will that carry on for?
Well,
Right.
I think it's probably more than a little bit, considering,
Oh, yeah.
cases of alcoholism has been going up.
Yeah.
Domestic abuse has been
People
going
haven't
up.
People
been-
frustrated
yeah.
on top of each other
And
all
then-
the time, not making excuses for it, but
I'm in the fitness industry, because I still work,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two business partners. We run our own little gym along with two other awesome coaches. And
I gotta come through.
Yeah, check it out sometime. You're more than
He's
welcome.
got a
man.
nice place.
Yeah,
You'll
it's
definitely like it.
it's a good location. We only do personal training, so it's not like a frequented membership gym. Though even in that regard, even with a very exclusive clientele base and local attendance, people are still very scared, and so that's just a localized, isolated event, right? With more than 20 to 40, 50 people who are outstanding right now.
Right.
I can't imagine worldwide. People are not. Are they? So my question is: are they taking as good care of themselves as they did before the pandemic? What kind of health regimen are they on now? Are they still exercising? Are they still eating right? Like you said, they could be drinking more.
Yep. For me, I'll admittedly, I was on a tear at the gym before all this came down. I was like, we're about to go on tour. I'm the singer now. I got to be looking, straight
Sharp.
up and down. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm about it. I'm putting the work in.
Nice.
And the hammer came down, and I was like, this just put the hold on everything. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to grab a bottle of liquor, and I'm going to fire up the video games for a while. The first 3 weeks, I think everyone was an anxious
doubt.
mess. I remember sitting on my couch like, am I sick right now? Am I getting people sick? Am I like seeing too many people? Like, what the fuck, But it just, like
Dude,
I said,
I was supposed to go to Japan.
Right? Yeah.
I had to get that. That was the first thing, and I was this close to going, to be honest, because I'm one of those people who thinks everything on TV is bullshit.
I agree. Media will fucking take advantage of you.
So
every
I
turn.
was just like, fuck this. I mean, I still think most of it's bullshit, because I think, like you were saying, how much of it is an opinion from a news source more than it is factual evidence, research, discovery, whatever. So I was like, I really wanted to go. And, honestly, I probably would have been stuck there, but they are doing better than we are, numerically, with COVID, that is. But, man, I was like a kid with a snow day. I did the same thing. I was drinking, hanging out, laying back. Overall, I think it was the healthiest thing that happened to me mentally, because of just how long and hard I was working straight through, and then for everything to just come to a halt, it was like coming up for air,
catch your
dude.
breath,
Fuck. And honestly, if it didn't happen, I don't know if I would have been able to, run my mental, if I was able to, I don't know if I would have been able to continue on like that.
Yeah. Without crashing. Or
Yeah,
something
without
like
crashing.
That,
Though now my focus is, well, how are we going to pick things back up?
Right.
Because I really wasn't worried up until maybe a couple days ago, where I'm thinking, you know what, exactly what we're talking about here, and how long it will take people to be comfortable leaving their house.
Yeah, it's going to be a different landscape, all in all, I believe, you know.
Even
like,
if things are safer, they're not going to leave the house. It's going to take them a long time.
right. and
Somebody's going to
it
have to
is-
convince them.
It was almost like this mass, like, anti-social movement in a way, you
Yeah,
know.
I
Like,
know.
And people are even, like, a little weird, you know, now.
Oh, I know.
So, or weirder.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a
people aren't
lot
weird.
more a lot more social navigating these days. And God
Definitely.
forbid you're in the dating scene. I mean, how are you going to meet somebody if you want to meet
dude,
somebody, dude?
It's terrible. And
Yeah.
actually,
They have to
it's
be
been
okay with
getting
that.
that
Exactly.
way for many years now, ever since cell phones came out and we're communicating via text instead of via voice or via like in person.
Yeah.
There's always that emotional disconnect where you don't actually tell where the person's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, with the added like pressure of like not being able to see somebody's facial expressions because they're wearing a mask, and
Yeah.
It is.
you're
It's
missing
like
out
a-
on so many crucial cues
It's
to
like a paradigm
communication.
shift.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
a technological sort of
Has
just
this
shift.
happened?
The world changed like that, you know?
Has this happened before? Like on a large global scale?
Well, it's never been able to really be global. I'd say probably the most far-reaching global events that we've experienced, as humans, is probably like World War One, World War Two.
Right.
But information has never been so easily spread
Yeah.
as now with the internet. Every country, not every country, because there's some that have restrictions on media consumption, but most countries can just Google something and it pops up
Yeah.
immediately,
And I
or
and
their news presents it.
right, and back to like how the news played it off. That's one thing too I really didn't appreciate, is how much opinion of their own they put into it and kind of made other people think that way.
Right.
Because we did go through the swine flu and a bunch of other similar viruses, and I'm not saying one's worse than the other, but I mean,
Sure.
people got it and a lot of people died, and I don't remember any procedure this large.
Mhm.
This is a large, what we're experiencing right now is a large scale procedure.
Yeah.
And whether it's for political purposes or for the purposes of safety, it's hard to distinguish. That's all
Absolutely.
I'm saying.
And like you said, the media comes out and they paint this picture, even though it's not accurate, just to get something out there and be first,
Right.
Or like, they were saying, oh, don't wear masks at first because we need them, and they're just lying to our faces,
Yeah.
If only we had someone come out and say, hey, look, we don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
Bear with us for a minute. Let's take this very serious across the board.
Yeah.
And we can knock this thing out. But the leadership,
They start
you know
they
what I
start
mean?
blaming people, and then
Yeah.
the
And
people
like
who
you
go-
said,
much
it gets
ego involved.
politicized.
yeah, a
'cause-
lot of ego, and people then
you
go,
don't
you know
want
what?
people to think you're wrong.
Yeah, it's not my fault, and then it's like, and then it becomes a petty argument about whose fault it is. It's like, who fucking cares?
Right.
There's a
Let's-
problem. Let's get together
Yeah.
and figure it out.
Yep.
And then they start making laws, and then
Yep.
people get shut down, and it's like, it's one
Yep.
thing to advocate safety, and it's another one to make it law. And then that's where people, I think, a lot of the times got really antsy, is because whether or not it was a law to keep your business open,
Mm-hmm.
nobody would go to your business anyways. They're too scared. Like, even if I
Exactly.
decided to keep the gym open, nobody would go. But
Mm.
then if it was, if I decided to keep it open and nobody went anyways, and then they found out I decided to keep it open, I could have lost my business or been fined heavily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, well, what the fuck? I don't know. There's just a little bit of
It's a
I don't
huge
know.
mess.
It goes over your head a little bit.
I think, and this is an idea I've been playing with recently, that it's somewhat revealing that perhaps we're not so far removed from our feudal roots.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, there is a group of people who sort of just is able to just decide things without consenting,
Yeah, like-
without asking consent from the general population.
They just do it.
They
Yep.
just do it.
Yeah. You might be right. I mean, honestly, it goes back to how quickly technology has advanced and how little humans have. We
Right.
have this vast access to all sorts of different kinds of information from all sorts of
Mhm.
different outlets. How are we gonna, how long has the internet really been around? People
20 years?
20, 30, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just don't think we've had enough time to deal with that level of access to that amount of information. Drives you
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, people are like reverting sort of like into themselves, and
Yeah.
then the technology becomes an extension of them, and it's a trip. Even seeing, I have younger brothers and sisters,
Yep.
and just seeing the way they have been exposed to this
Right.
sort of thing,
Little
and
kid,
there's
yeah.
a ton of information that can be confusing to someone who's 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, which is
That's a good point.
whole other can of worms. That's
Yeah.
it just
Think about the worldview that this is going to cause them to develop when
Right.
they become adults.
exactly,
Like, how are
even-
they going to view the world?
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, like people, blood cells. So people are far more likely to sell something, or not sell something, share something that is bad,
Negative. Yep.
negative, and that. Whoa, look, you see that? Like even to the police thing, and not justifying police brutality, but who's gonna film a cop being a good cop? It's not
Right.
really
It's
that
definitely
appealing.
not as-
Skateboarding, playing basketball,
Yeah.
kids in the hood sometimes. but
Sometimes, but it certainly
Yeah,
doesn't.
few
It
and
doesn't
far
share.
between, yeah,
It doesn't
few and
share
far
like
between.
because I've seen those ones too. But like
Mhm.
you don't see them with 10 million views, though they're shared through the same
Yep.
platforms to
Yep.
the same audience.
Right.
Oh, that was the. That's it. No more juice in the GoPro.
Dang.
Oh well, I'll
That's
have to
right.
find a way to put that into the wall. It was a dry run. You guys got to see young Jamie
Experiment
do
with it.
for the first time, and since the first episode.
Second time.
Second time.
Second time.
First time since the first episode. However,
Oh, first guest.
yeah, he was the
Nice.
first guest. Dry run. It's come a long way. It's got a little fancier in here, but it's coming together. Yeah.
Good, dude. Little by little.
So how does the tech work on your end? I mean, like I was complimenting you guys on, and back to the music thing.
Mhm.
It's like, who does your videos and stuff? Because those
Well-
are like extremely well done.
Thanks. Yeah. So, like I said earlier, my old singer is a videographer, and that's kind of what he left to pursue
Oh,
more
you know what?
full time,
You
and
were
he
telling me,
started
yeah.
a business. So he did one of the videos for us. We actually built a big ass 40-foot green screen in our practice space.
Mm-hmm.
So we shot that in front of that green screen. It's a little quirky,
Yeah.
but I'm proud of it. That was actually another kind of like business idea, was to have that, and bands could come through and shoot on the green screen
Oh,
and shit.
yeah.
So but another thing on hold. But yeah, and then just a few other people that we know from playing in bands. My buddy Chris Klump shot the first one in our big warehouse studio, and just made it black and white and look grimy, and
Yeah.
it came out good. It was sharp. I'm no good with cameras, but I had a lot
I've
of friends
always
that
wanted.
are. So.
I've always wanted to make a music video, but I never have. It's like one of those things where I always have an idea. Like, when you're listening to a song you really love,
Mhm.
or maybe a song you
And you
made
paint
that
a
you really
picture of that
liked,
in
and
your
you're
head.
thinking in your head, oh, this would be, like you have the imagery attached or associated
Yep.
from an imaginary standpoint to the product. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? To the song, because I feel that way at least when I'm making like little beats on here. I'm like, oh,
Hell
this would
yeah.
be cool to just
Sweet,
have like a
you're making
landscape
beats.
thing to
That's
it, or so.
awesome.
You know what I mean? Because like these days, like we said, the beauty of the advancement of technology is how accessible creation is now,
Mhm.
and that's, I think, a good, a high note of what technology can provide us with.
Absolutely.
Is that ability to be a lot more creative. And I think that's one thing a lot of people lack, is that creativity.
Mhm.
And now they really think about it. People get very used to mundane lifestyle of 9 to 5 or whatever it may
Mhm.
be, and they're not really producing anything. And there's something. I mean, I don't even have to tell you this, of course, because you're right there. There's something to be said about making something, and I think there's no experience quite like it.
Absolutely. That with the technology, and it also kind of removed the gatekeepers.
True.
Like if you put the work in and figure it out, you could put your goddamn song on SoundCloud
Right.
and be the next Post Malone. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And then the people want to talk to you.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
before it was,
That's true.
A&R guys and talent scouts out at shows in New
Yeah.
York City. You had to be in
Managers.
LA. You had to be in New York. You had to be in Atlanta, So now it's just kind of like leveled the playing field, sort of, and you just get in what you put out, Or you
Yeah.
get out what you put in, rather.
That's kind of what YouTube did for a lot of people in the acting and skit industry. You know what I mean?
or even the podcast
Even
thing,
the podcast thing, exactly. Now you don't have to go through a record company or something to distribute.
You get on YouTube and you get it going, and you can
no,
be
like
thoughtful,
Spotify.
and you don't have a script. You can just go off the cuff, and you can, swear and be personable, and, people relate to that stuff subconsciously, so.
That's what scares me, though. A lot of these, like I'm really happy that there isn't just one streaming platform, one video platform. I'm all about business and businesses succeeding and stuff like that. But I would hate it if there was only an iPhone. And where I'm going with this is, like, for instance, right now YouTube's sort of the place you put videos. You can, I'll put small things on Facebook.
Yep.
But Facebook and Google are very similar in the way they monetize and the way their algorithms work, and then, of course, YouTube is Google and Facebook is Instagram and Twitter. So you then only have two companies you're working with in that instance. However, my worry is that there's a lot more censorship going on than you might think. Like, for instance, I don't know if this is completely true. You could probably even look it up, Jameson, but it's that, like, even if you swear in the first 5 minutes of a video you put on YouTube, the algorithm changes.
Right.
So I've heard, right? Or if you talk about something you don't like, you can get it taken down. There's even just when I make thumbnails, sometimes they don't like my thumbnails, and I was like, why? What the hell's wrong?
Yeah, gotta keep the algorithm happy.
I'm worried that it's going to a darker place where they only want you to produce content that they like.
Right.
Whether they be left wing or right wing, my point is they shouldn't really be silencing people or making it hard to find them. I actually was just listening to a podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast with Duncan Trussell. We were just talking about him earlier. And they were talking about how, like, YouTube back in the day, and we all know this, it used to be like the Wild West. People would just be posting crazy shit. You could go and type in we'll say aliens, and you just go on this massive rabbit hole of all these different videos, and you could just keep going, and you kind of can now, but I think there's just a little bit more censorship involved.
Yeah, the bigger and bigger the business gets, I'm sure they have things that they don't like, and
I'm kind of happy in that instance that Joe Rogan's moving to Spotify, because it's sort of like we were talking about, levels that playing field. Now you don't have to rely on one source to distribute a certain form of content. Now, like, for instance, maybe if Spotify opens up a video platform like YouTube, maybe that's where I could just lead track.
Right. Funny enough that you say this, I was watching a little Instagram video, I think last night or yesterday. One of the Barstool Sports guys, I don't know his name, not the owner.
Not Dave, right?
No, it was some other guy. He's kind of annoying, but he got on there and he was saying, it's been one day. The Joe Rogan thing just happened on Spotify, and already some of, like, the more
Alex Jones, Michaela Peterson,
the more wonky ones are missing. So
they're missing. What do you mean?
They didn't
just
get
weren't
put
uploaded
over onto Spotify.
They
Because
didn't?
all his full episodes were supposed to come off YouTube, which they did. They're all supposed to go on to Spotify, and I think some of the real polarizing ones
they're not
didn't
there.
turn up. So I
That
don't
was like
know
the
if
best one.
Joe
Every time
was
Alex
like,
Jones is on there, it's a
100
blast.
M's, do whatever, take a few episodes off, I don't care, or if they did that behind his back or what, but
Yeah,
I
that
don't
would
really care.
that would get me.
I don't need to watch Alex Jones
Yeah, I know.
podcast, but some of them are really
Well,
cool.
I think like with somebody like Alex Jones, I mean, you should be able to leave it to the average civilian to be able to tell that he's kind of full of shit.
Even if he is crazy,
in a
even
lot of ways.
So like, even if that is a polarized, at least. So how would you know what crazy is if it did not exist, right? You would have to have, okay, this guy is fucking
Alex Jones is nuts.
gone. You know what I mean?
Dude's
Just
nuts.
gone. Because he is. He's like, everything's a conspiracy. Interdimensional child molesters. Like everything's an vampiric interdimensional child molester. If you don't have people like that, you don't know who normal people are.
Now, Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela Peterson, was also on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
That one wasn't uploaded.
Why?
I think it
Jordan
could be
Peterson.
because
Yeah, I'm a big fan. 12 Rules of Life was awesome.
I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, my first guess is that she supports like a carnivore diet, which is an all meat diet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
right?
he did it for a while.
And
too.
so I think perhaps
fucked up. That'd
people
be
don't
wicked.
want information like that getting out because it could be harmful. But I
So,
mean,
see,
All right,
that's
that elite veganism.
that you gotta let people
They don't want.
decide. People are crazy, and if that leads somebody to their death, I mean, here's the thing: at what point do you stop that? Do you just stop? Like you can buy a car and
Right.
then you could drive it off a cliff,
Mm-hmm.
or a gun and shoot yourself,
Yep.
or too many sleeping pills. I mean, do we just live in like this, cushion
Yeah,
box?
it's getting more and more censored.
Especially
as-
with information that's not really that, like, it's not like it's thrown in your face. You have to go to Joe Rogan's, go 10,000 episodes back
literally,
and find it.
2-3 hours a piece.
Right. It's like there's
Skim
so much
through and
information.
find
Yeah.
it, yeah.
It's not like it's just like people are like, I heard it was a good idea and I just started eating meat and then
yeah.
now I'm dead, like I don't know. I have more faith in humanity. Obviously there is a lot of not as intelligent people will say. But there always will be, and there's nothing there, taking bad information out doesn't make people smarter. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Educating people makes people smarter.
Exactly.
Giving them
Well,
better
some might
information.
argue that the goal isn't to make people smarter.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that,
That's very true. Yeah,
the goal could be,
you could
mischievous or
a little bit more, as Jordan Peterson would say. What's the word he likes to use there? Malevolent.
Yeah,
malevolent.
that's
Yeah.
the word.
Bloody
It's a good word. It's malevolent.
Yeah.
But dude, so you're reading 12 Rules of Life,
Yeah.
dude. How do you like it so far?
I love it. I love him. I just saw he had a class going around.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna get that going as soon as I finish the book. And
good for you, man. I'm a big fan of that book.
Are you talking about the self-authoring thing that he
Yep.
does?
Yep.
Dude, that's probably gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I took the personality test that he offers, and I found the results were
Yeah,
interesting.
self-awareness is
Yeah.
so key, and everyone can think, they're as self-aware as could be, but, you
Yeah.
definitely have some, I think everybody's got at least something underlying that they're not
There's so
fully
much-
aware of,
There's so much you learn about yourself, especially when you
Right.
come across information like that. I
Yep.
mean, it's deep.
Yeah.
And you realize things about yourself that, especially, so when I'm listening to philosophy of any kind, there's always things that are brought up that I go, holy shit. Like that's been an algorithm my brain has been running for a long time. That's
Yeah.
been a problem I've been having for a long
Yep.
time. And I can't believe
And you
it
couldn't
was
even
just
put your thumb on it.
couldn't even put
Yeah.
my thumb on it, and it was brought up so simply. And there's a lot of great. I mean, are you a big fan of a lot of philosophy? Do you listen to
Yeah,
other people
I
like
mean,
Alan Watts and like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, a lot of that intellectual dark web, I give those dudes and dudes like Joe Rogan a lot of credit, just for giving people perspective in such a tumultuous time, like
Yeah.
even at the 2016 election and how crazy everything's been since then.
It's
Just like
important.
I said, they're these extreme ideologies are no bueno,
Yeah.
on either side.
Either side.
You know what I mean? And I feel like they kind of helped people kind of find a middle ground.
And more
That
so
have
than ever.
a head on their shoulders. People
There's
that have a good
definitely
head on their
something to be
shoulders.
said to be able to willingly listen to somebody who's in opposition with you without getting emotional about it. You know?
Exactly. I am a little progressive in most things that I view, but I'm a Second Amendment advocate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't agree with everything just because that's the narrative of a certain side. I
Yeah.
feel like that's very, very dangerous. On both sides.
Oh yeah.
To think like that. And there's another, I forget who said it, but this quote, it's you shouldn't argue your point of view until you can argue the opposite point of view even better,
That's a
and
good
it's
one.
it's just having that understanding, there's a huge lack of that right now, and in this
The willingness to
climate.
understand too is
Exactly.
really
and
really
like we were
just,
talking about that identity politics thing, maybe new information did come out and you're scared to say you were wrong, and that's a problem too.
Dude, fucking nail right on the head with that one. That was actually just a really good point you made there, because that's just it. There's so many people right now still worshiping the original narrative, even though things have changed from the original narrative.
Right.
And they don't, and they might not want to admit to that. And it's not that you don't have to consider all possibilities, but living in fear is not the answer.
No, it's not.
It's not,
never
man.
was.
Even if going out and doing something that you love means you might die, I think I'd rather that than be afraid of doing what you love.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's sacrifices in everything, and typically the more sacrifice, the better it is. Like you believing in your dreams, you know?
Of course.
Chasing your dreams.
And it feels like, you're at end of days, and, that cliche, it's always darkest before the dawn type of thing, like you could be right around the corner from the next big step, and you'll never know if you don't put the work in or take a risk.
Right.
I'm a big believer in taking risks, whether that's in business or
like even your road trip.
Or, yeah, exactly.
Even that road trip. I mean, there's an unsurmountable amount of risk. The amount of time you spend driving. How many people die in a 20-minute drive?
Oh my God! And
your
not
car
to
broke
mention
down.
the amount of hours you're driving, and it's your turn to drive, and you're getting the heavy eyelids going.
Yo, I've been there.
That's rough, dude.
I've been there.
You gotta will yourself to.
You
not
start
die.
dreaming while you're awake.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been that tired coming back from the
Yeah.
White Mountains, man. We sometimes take a road trip up to New Hampshire, up to the Whites.
Mhm.
It's like 3 hours away, and depending on how long the hike lasts, and after a long hike, you're freaking
gassed. Yeah,
gassed,
absolutely.
and then you're driving. So if you're tired, man, you can get really tired.
Yeah.
Bro,
it's
especially if
important
you
to
stop for
pull
dinner
over.
and a nice, cold, refreshing beer after the
Yeah, you
hike.
guys would. I'd never have the drinks. I don't know
Bro,
how you guys do the drinks
you
after,
get a
man.
big dinner, a nice, cold, refreshing beer after exerting yourself all day.
Yeah.
And then you just bask in the glory of the struggle that you accomplished.
Uh-huh.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
beautiful. It is beautiful. But yeah, making full circle on that point, man. I mean, think about the amount of risk overall, and then the struggle of it, sleeping in there. But look at the outcome. You guys got all the experience. You guys got to go to
Mhm.
shows and probably meet new people, and
Oh my God, yeah.
and learn new things about the way you perform together. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a
and-
lot of learning
Yup.
in that, in
Oh,
just
yeah.
doing that alone.
Dialing it in, yeah.
Dialing it in.
Touring with other bands and picking stuff up off them, and them picking stuff up off of you, and they, them just being from other states and other, having different worldviews. It's like an intimate thing being on the road with a friend or an acquaintance.
Yeah.
It's you're closer than close at a lot of times.
Yeah.
Almost to the point, like I said, it gets really frustrating
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
but
and
it's all, like I
does,
said,
man.
it's all worth it.
It's all
you know?
love. It's all
Yep.
love. There's nothing. Honestly, it's like that, because the closer you get to people you know, the more you find out things about yourself and them that you hate.
Yeah.
And you can that can often be off-putting, and,
Oh,
and it
God.
makes for challenges within that relationship.
Mhm.
And that's, I think anybody who has to work together intimately like that has to overcome those types of things. Like I was just saying, even with my business partners, there's things that we have to kind of get used to about each other that
Right.
we're not like always 100%, but we get through it, and we communicate, and
Yep. Communication is key, and kind of sometimes you have to take a step back, and maybe something isn't done exactly the way you would do it, but you have to get over that because you can't do everything.
And to really kind of make this full circle, that's kind of the biggest thing missing right now, is people are communicating to each other on a massive scale through what is presented to them by the television, by these articles.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're sitting down across the table from each other and talking about how they feel, because I think more often than not, if I was a betting man, I would say people agree on more things than they disagree on.
I would agree with that.
You know what I mean? But they don't take the time to explain that, or use the right tools to convey it. Because typically, the way people are communicating now is they'll share a polarizing article.
Yep.
Or a polarizing one-sided video.
Yep.
There's never that many videos. Unless I'm watching a podcast, I don't really see any middle-lined type of content. It's usually one side or the other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why these short bursts of information are not really all that helpful, and they're designed to be clickbaity like that,
Yeah.
you know, and like, oh, I identify with this, so I'm going to share it, and it's going to piss
Yeah,
off
it's
the
all
people
about
that
triggering
don't
an emotional
identify, you
response.
know. That's why this open forum sort of conversation is so important, you know. I'm so happy
Big.
that you're doing this, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy that this is like a big thing now, because, you know, everyone's saying with technology, everyone's fucking, you know, attention span is
Yeah.
less than a goldfish or some bullshit
there's-
like that. It's like people in droves are firing up 3 hour
Yeah.
long conversations on their TV and, you know,
Yeah,
listening to it intently, you know. It's like, I don't know about all that goldfish bullshit.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really it's really the fact of the matter is that technology has just as many positives as it does negatives. Though, like, going
Chaos
back
and order.
Right. It goes back to using it to become more than just yourself, and
Right.
that typically involves creativity.
Mhm.
As powerful as a computer or a cell phone might be, as far as a search engine goes, because that's really what we're used. Probably 99% of our phone to do is
Yeah.
search things. That's
Reading, yeah.
reading or looking up things, and
Yep.
even Facebook is a
Research.
search engine that's made up of your friends.
Yep.
Instagram's the same. All
Yep.
these social media platforms are exactly the same. They just have a different bit of content. Like Twitter might be more text savvy, Instagram is more picture savvy, Facebook's a little combination of the both. Facebook's become more of a marketing platform, in
It
my
has.
opinion.
It's kind of like other than that, it's more like a
Yeah. Well,
shitty battlefield.
yeah, it's
of
like a shitty battlefield. It's like,
ideologies.
yeah, exactly. It's like the place where the worst type of communication goes down because the most communication can happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's so, I don't know, man. I hope people can see that and find a way to use their technology a little bit more productively. But yeah, you had a good point, like saying, you know, I'm pro Second Amendment as well, you know, and like you say that and immediately, oh, you're a conservative Nazi or something, you know, it could be like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that has nothing to do with it. It's just
Right.
like, well, I don't know if people, you know, in my opinion, you make something. I'm also pro legalize all drugs.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like you have a system in place to distribute a product. We don't have to talk about drugs, but a system in place to distribute product. Where else are you going to go for a Dunkin' Donuts coffee? Because you like Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yep.
You're not going to come to my house.
Right.
But if I'm, you know what I mean? But as time goes on and you have some system in place where you can go to a professional to get a substance that could possibly kill you, it's
Right.
better to go to a professional to give it to you. And be
Right,
like,
it's
okay,
like-
Greg, you've been here 9 times this week.
Are you
Yeah.
ready to get some help?
Do you want
Because we
help,
have
or-
those resources for
Yeah.
you. That's a fantastic
Versus-
idea, and a lot of other countries do that. And
Yeah,
you
Portugal
know,
did it not too long ago. Legalized all drugs.
unfortunately, there's just it's more to that business side of things where there's a lot of money made.
Well,
Um,
it goes back to the prisons being private.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
so
Huge,
criminals are in
huge
demand.
Problem. Huge
Criminals are in
problem. Yeah,
demand in that
exactly.
case.
Modern day slave labor.
Yeah,
Um,
scary.
it is very scary.
But yeah, I mean, I've always had sort of like from a policy standpoint, I have a lot of liberal views, and from an economic standpoint, I have a lot of conservative views.
I do too. Yep.
You know,
I'm
and-
very business oriented.
Yeah.
I'm about chasing bread. You know,
Yeah.
like seriously, like
It's
you know,
great to
and you know, a lot
break
of
free.
these uber wealthy people come under fire.
Yeah. Because they're rich, and that's kind of all they
because
got.
they're rich, and to an extent, it's understandable. Like,
Yeah.
if it's tough to say I'm not a billionaire. You know,
Right.
obviously.
Not yet.
Yeah. But if
One step at a time,
I
man.
was, I probably would load up, inner cities with better education, or, people, kids, homeless kids starving, like they need food. Like, let's get after it.
The
You know what I
only-
mean? But like at the same time, like these people change the world.
Yeah.
Like
Whether
Jeff
you like it or not.
Bezos, like if you're complaining about Jeff Bezos, like when's the last time you Amazon Prime something yesterday and now it's at your doorstep today? You know what I mean? Like it's just not so black and white. I don't think anything's black and
No.
white. You know what I mean? And that's what we're getting a lot. Or maybe it's just the people piping up.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a lot more. Maybe there's 10% over here and 10% over here that won't shut the fuck up, and the rest of us are just like,
Yeah.
God damn it. There's like a nice middle to this.
Yeah.
And if you idiots would just do a little research, talk to somebody that you don't necessarily agree with, then, we could get somewhere, because that's another thing is like open conversation, like
Yeah.
I have a lot of like gung-ho conservative friends that I don't necessarily agree with everything on,
Right.
but we're friends and we can talk about this shit. And if a conversation gets a little heated, the next day we're still friends. You know what I mean? I think it's a problem.
That's what's so important about friendship is really, sharing each other's opinions and growing from there. That's a huge part of growth.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Let me do a little research.
Keeping each other in check. Like you got, you might have had some crazy opinions in the past, and your friends like, hey Dave,
let's
absolutely.
And
I've
been
all there.
Getting older,
I've been there a million times, and it's like, oh shit, you're probably right,
And like you said,
we talk about shit all the time.
like you said earlier, there's just so many people making emotional decisions, and it's such a bad way to make a decision. Like when you're emotional, when you develop an opinion
based off an emotion, it's a fucking mess at that point.
Like, back to the identity politics. When someone says something that doesn't jive with that, it's an insult to you.
Big time.
And it's not. That sucks.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, and back to like, bashing billionaires. I don't support that either. I don't think it's fair to just be pissed off at somebody because they're rich and they've done very well. However, on the flip side, I can understand how destructive monopoly can be. I don't like that. Like, for instance, say YouTube was the only person, or Facebook. Facebook's a better example because Facebook owns all these different social media platforms. Now they all have they have all the same
guidelines,
policies and guidelines. And that, in my opinion, is somewhat of a monopoly. And you could quote me on this, or not quote me on this, but if I had a crystal ball, I would say that Facebook might get charged at some point for having a monopoly at some point. Because
they
if
were
they
under
just keep
fire, for letting some disinformation float around or something for a while that benefited. I don't know the whole story. But
as far as having trillions and trillions of dollars, and if you want to just shove it into a furnace, I mean,
right,
do it. I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you going to tell somebody? You should do this with your money. Like, well, why don't you start a business and just make a bunch of that stuff?
Why don't you get uber wealthy yourself and do all the things that you were demanding of these
It would
other
be
people,
nice in a utopia, of course.
And the thing, exactly. And the thing is, with people that have that billionaire mentality and the capacity to get there, that's a very special kind of person. I feel like, you're on your way, you're on your business, and you get to this door, and you're like, all right, I can either stay humble and make my money where I am and be happy with that, or I can take the next step, and maybe I have to do a couple of these loopholes to get ahead, or maybe I have to step on a couple people to get ahead, and it just I think it's just the nature of the situation.
It's easy to look at the top of a pyramid and go, look how high it is, it shouldn't be that high, without recognizing how much is going into how to make the top of the pyramid, because you can just go, oh, he's very rich, that's fucking stupid, bad, or whatever, but you don't realize how much society is benefiting from it. Like you said, you could buy something today and it'd be on your doorstep yesterday, type of shit. You know what I mean? Like it's that efficient. I mean, and then aside from that, you have the amount of people employed who have a good job. And then you have the byproducts of that business and how many people are making products to be distributed by that business, if we're speaking about Amazon.
Right, exactly. And another thing I got into is I'm in the middle of starting a little Amazon business myself. But
drop shipping?
Kind of just Amazon FBA. But people don't realize, half or more of the things that are sold on Amazon are from private sellers.
Yeah.
That platform makes a lot of people
very wealthy,
I've heard or just that. A little side income, like, oh, cool, $500 extra a month.
Yeah,
my rent's paid for because I do this dumb shit,
Yeah, click
it's
here, click
sweet,
there. Put in a couple numbers.
I just feel like a lot of this stuff is.
You're absolutely right, and it's easy. Well, in other words, and this goes back to a lot of I've mentioned this plenty of times, but victimism. You can just sit there and be like, oh, he's rich and I'm not, and I'm poor.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's
victim mentality.
It's like, well, how good is that doing you? You
right.
Okay. So you've established you don't have as much money as this person A. So you're gonna just complain about it till you die, or what's the plan? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna just shit on people for doing things, or are you gonna do something about it?
Yep.
Because it's not like Jeff Bezos came out of the womb and was a trillionaire.
No.
There was a process.
Yeah, I think the thing about people who get very rich, well, I think we got to think about what money actually represents.
Yeah.
Right? Money represents services that are owed to you, right?
Mhm.
It's a promissory note, like a promise of future services rendered to you,
Yeah.
right? And you only get that for contributing something,
Exactly.
right? And so these people are contributing something. And then regarding monopoly, I think that's perfectly natural for people to seek more power. I think
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's unnatural, but it sucks when
it
that does
happens
happen.
in many various ways.
Yeah.
I think Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher, is probably one of the champions of the idea of the will to power, whereas basically all of life seeks to grow and become stronger in order to have more influence over the world.
Yeah.
Right? And we can either do that by dominating and taking, or we can do it by, subverting a new system of values, right?
Mm.
Flipping what people value, thus making what you possess more valuable than what they possess.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to, the fact that
And that's
A lot-
kind of like what victimism and virtue
Yeah.
signaling is.
And
is
the-
you're
and-
changing what's valuable.
and they base that off of their happiness relying on how much money they have, which is a terrible
It's
gauge for how happy
horrible
you are, because
to do that.
anybody could have billions and millions of dollars, but
Yep.
if you did nothing that you love to get it, you wouldn't be much happier than the average person who
No.
can pay their
And-
bills.
And speaking from a little bit of personal experience, when you're grinding and you're stacking bread and stuff,
Yeah.
Say you have $5,000 to your name, you
Yeah.
know, and it feels like the same when you had $500 to your name and you spend, 100 of those dollars. You're like, damn, I just spent this and now I have far less than I had. And then, then you get to 10 grand and you're worried about having less than that. And then
Yeah.
you get to 100 grand. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like it's never ending that.
Well, numbers
and
never
it's
end.
it's just human nature.
Yeah.
I think it's like, once you have something, you want something else or you want something more, you know what I mean? But it's just
There's always a new goal.
exactly like if you're gung-ho focused on stacking bread, I just feel like it's
It's a terrible goal. It's a terrible goal. It's not just shallow, but it's terribly foolish because numbers don't end.
Right.
So you can literally do it for eternity, infinity. There's
Yep.
no amount of time that you could stop because numbers, theoretically, you just add commas and
Yep.
more and more and more, and then it's like you could have 1,500 trillion million billion dollars, and well, you could buy just anything you want for $1 billion. It's
Sure.
like, okay.
Yep.
But my point is, or one of the points I was making there, and I think I heard this from 12 Rules to Life, but there isn't much more happiness associated, or rather, created in somebody's life. Much more like, so say you can already pay your bills, and then between somebody who is having no trouble really paying their bills and then somebody who's mega wealthy, I mean, really at that point it's how those two people are spending their time,
Right.
their free time.
Right.
Yeah, there have been many studies that show that
Yeah.
between 70 and 80 grand is the optimal threshold for happiness
Yeah.
related to wealth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
per
exactly,
year,
yeah.
annually.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't doubt that at all because I can totally see that. I could honestly, if I could afford to do a little bit more traveling than I am right now, and if I had a house, I mean,
Yeah. I'm working
I don't
on that
know.
Too. Pain in the ass.
what's that?
Trying to buy a house.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know. I guess you could keep saying, well, I guess if I had this, I'd be better. But honestly, that's a terrible way to say it. What I'm trying to say is that depending on how I spend my time is really what really gauges how happy I am.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with
Absolutely.
really what I have.
And that should be the focus.
Yeah.
And it's not in a, capitalistic society. Everyone's chasing bread,
Yeah, it can be made out. It's definitely what's it? It's really glamorized to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. In everything.
Yeah, and it's not money that we want. What really we want is freedom. You know, and
And
sometimes
that's
you
just
can
it.
get
symbolizes
Yep.
power.
Yeah.
It's the will to
And
power.
it's the fuck you money that everyone's after,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
a different number for everyone,
Exactly.
Oh, I work in a grocery store now, and the manager comes around. I got enough saved to say, take 2 of these and
Yeah.
don't call me in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm leaving.
Dude, that's so true, man. All right, well, dude, we're around an hour and a half here.
Right on.
Let's so what do we got to tell people, man? Let's get your word out a little bit more just to wrap this up. When are you guys looking to perform again, or where can people find you?
Unfortunately, I really don't know about the performances. I've been keeping an eye on, like you said, the media says certain things, and it looks like there's really no end in sight as far as traveling and shows being a thing again. I know they're doing drive-in shows, but we're not playing any festivals or anything like that. But just know as soon as the time comes, we'll be hitting the road hard. You can find us, Dopeghost, MA on Instagram. Search Dopeghost on Facebook. Give us a like. Follow us on there. Check us out on Spotify. We're on all the major streaming platforms. You know, like we said earlier, just Google it and it'll come up, Dopeghost.
You guys have a website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dopeghost.com?
Yeah. Yep. We have that. Dopeghost.com. It's not super optimized right now. We were collecting email lists through there when we were first doing the marketing thing, but I feel like we have a Bandcamp that you can check us out on there and listen to the record for free. And if you're feeling up to it, you like it, you know, maybe grab a T-shirt or a hoodie or a vinyl or a tape or, you know, whatever.
Definitely the vinyl. I'm going to show this again. These vinyls are sweet. I feel like I won
limited,
a dope lottery with this. This is too cool, Dave. I can't thank you enough for bringing this in.
It's white vinyl too, limited
no kidding.
edition. So.
Oh wow, dude, that's just so cool, man. And I really
that was
appreciate
a bucket list
this.
thing for me to have a record of mine on a vinyl disc. So at the very least, that's accomplished.
Is that your first?
On vinyl, yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
Dude, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
That's really awesome. Well, guys, check them out. All the links will be in the description below. And yeah, man, I can't wait to have you on again. Thank you so much for coming on, Dave. This is so awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to reach out and get a hold of you. I wasn't sure. I honestly took a gamble with the phone number because who knows
dude. Yeah, I haven't changed. I think I've had the same number my whole life. So
nice. All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on again, and that was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Woo. Peace.
Peace.